good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, David, and Happy New Year to you and your viewers as well.
Thanks ever so much. And to you, first of all, if I may, your thoughts on what is unfolding in the United States, these separate incidents. They do seem to be linked. The FBI now believe they are linked through this app, the way that the vehicles were rented through Turo. But obviously shocking news on a day, the 2nd of January, or the 1st of January as it was then. This is the new year. It's meant to be full of optimism and hope and peace on earth and goodwill to all men. That has been shattered.
That's right, it has. And as you say, the new year is a time for looking forward. It's a time for optimism, hope about the future. But for these victims and their families, that has been cruelly cut short. So my thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families as they contemplate a very bleak 2025. As you say, this appears to be an act of terrorism. Both the FBI and President Biden have said that the perpetrator had ISIS or Daesh materials in his car. Daesh is, of course, ISIS is, of course, an extremist Islamist organization. Apparently, he'd been viewing ISIS material on YouTube as well. So the US authorities have said this is a terrorist incident, apparently motivated by Islamist extremism. And my thoughts are also with American law enforcement as they seek to investigate what has happened and whether other people were involved. As you said a second ago, the FBI have suggested that the perpetrator in New Orleans, Shamsuddin Jabbar, did not act alone. And I'm sure all of us will be wishing to express support for the FBI and other American law enforcement agencies as they try and identify and apprehend anybody else who may have been involved in this terrorist plot.
Now, as you say, of course, the FBI believes he didn't act alone. Jabbar, actually born in Texas, served in the military. According to the family, he started to convert to Islam. He attacked an area in New Orleans, which is known for its bar culture. It's fairly hedonistic, I think it's fair to say. It's pretty much everything that ISIS espouses to hate about Western society. Are you worried, or should we be worried about copycat attacks here in the United Kingdom?
Well, I think we should be concerned about the threat posed by Islamist terror attacks. We have seen a number of Islamist attacks over recent years happen on UK soil. Of course, many, many more have been foiled by counter-terrorism policing and the security services, besides those that have tragically taken place. So I think all of us should do everything we can to support CT policing and the security services, and in particular, if anybody from any community in the UK comes across information that suggests individuals or groups are being radicalised, then I think there is a moral obligation on everybody from all communities to report any evidence of radicalisation to the police immediately so they can do their work to try and prevent terrorist atrocities happening on British soil.
Can we move on to immigration, because we now have the totals of the number of illegal migrants coming to the United Kingdom, 36,818 in 2024, the second highest year since records began in 2018. Of course, this was part of the Conservative manifesto when you were in government to stop the crossings, the illegal crossings into this country. Keir Starmer says he is going to smash the gangs. I see absolutely no evidence of that at all. He talks about the new Border Security Command, bringing all these agencies together, and yet we see people still coming over to this country. When you look at the sheer numbers, 150,000 illegal migrants crossing since the small boats crisis began. That is an enormous number of people, a town the size of Cambridge or Ipswich or Blackpool. But now, in terms of the Border Security and Asylum Bill, the government says, well, what we're going to do, we'll enact powers, we'll take away your internet, we'll put you in the naughty corner, we'll take away your mobile phone. Is that enough?
No, it's not. I mean, the idea that threatening to take away a people smuggler's mobile phone or ban them from going on holiday, the idea that's going to make any difference is completely laughable. Keir Starmer's claim to want to smash the gangs is pretty ridiculous. He voted against life sentences for those very same gangs in opposition. We have seen the illegal crossings surge under Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper. They've gone up by 29% since the general election compared to the same time the previous year, whereas the previous year, 2023, in government, we actually managed to get the numbers down by about a third. Now, the National Crime Agency say that law enforcement alone, important though it is never going to be enough. What you need is a deterrent, so that if people cross the channel, they know they're going to quickly get returned somewhere else. Now, we had that lined up. We had the Rwanda scheme ready to go. We'd passed a new law through Parliament to deal with all the legal challenges. And the first flight was due to take off on the 24th of July, but Labour cancelled it before it even had a chance to depart. And that is part of the reason why the numbers of illegal immigrants crossing the channel has gone up so much under Labour since the general election. So the first thing the Labour government should do if they are serious about tackling illegal immigration is reinstate that deterrent. It's common sense that if people know they're going to get quickly returned somewhere else like Rwanda, they're not going to bother crossing in the first place. We saw something very similar work in Australia about 10 years ago, where they actually completely stopped their illegal maritime arrivals. So we know it works. We should do it here. And it was a massive mistake by Labour that they cancelled that plan before it even started.
Just two quick questions on that. I think it is absolutely fair to say that you are right in that Rwanda at least had some form of deterrent. We never saw it through. All the measures had been put in place. Also, we saw migrants then going to Ireland then complaining. So there was some sort of effect of Rwanda. If Labour does decide to swallow its pride and say, right, we will reinstate the Rwanda plan, how straightforward is that to do?
Well, I think it could definitely be done. The agreement with Rwanda had obviously been reached and signed and sealed and delivered under the last Conservative government. There were legal challenges, both in Strasbourg and in our own Supreme Court, but we passed a special law through Parliament, the Safety of Rwanda Act, which went through the last Parliament. It is on the statute books. It was signed by the monarch. It is in law. So the legal work has been done. So it actually would be very straightforward to restart that scheme that we had prepared, and I call on the government to do that. You know, I know they cancelled it 6 months ago, massive mistake by Labour, but it's not too late. They should do a U-turn in our national interest, because the approach the Labour government has tried to take is quite clearly not working. They've had 6 months, they have completely failed, they have lost control of our borders, and so they should swallow their pride and reinstate the Rwanda scheme, a scheme that we saw work in Australia about 10 years ago in very similar circumstances.
Could I ask you finally, if I may, for a comment on Jess Phillips, because Elon Musk has turned up the temperature on this row over grooming gangs. This is because Jess Phillips has shut down calls for a public inquiry into the scandal that was going on, the child abuse scandal in Oldham. She says there's no need for a public inquiry. Elon Musk has come out and said Jess Phillips needs to go to prison.